Okay, thanks for jumping in. Let's get started. So now that you understand how to get an HTML server up and display your HTML document inside of a browser, I'm going to talk really quickly about some directory structures and naming conventions. So this is not a standard setup for an HTML project or a boilerplate type project, but if you wanted to do that and follow along, you could do that as well. You'll have some specifics, like you may have like create files like 404 file or human.txt or something along those lines. And you can add those in, and depending on how you have your setup, the icons are going to be slightly different. What is represented by each file will show up a little bit differently here, but that's okay. And you might have actually specific directories like CSS, and you might have an images directory, and you may have a docs directory, or whatever you needed for the content that you're created. So the actual structure and the setup for your project is really dependent on what you're doing. You don't need all this content to have the project set up. You could go into Visual Studio's code, like I said, and you could have like a CSS directory when you understand that and when you know how to use that, and you have images where you put your content or whatever you want to place there, and you may have appropriate files. So you can add things as needed, but for an actual HTML product, the main file that you probably need, which is usually found in the public_HTML in the server or the root of a server, you'll need this index.html file. Okay, so this is where your project starts. Now I'm going to remove all this stuff because you really don't need any of that stuff right now. And you can add it if you like, or you can experiment. That's totally up to you. So for our basic purposes, we're going to have something like this. You don't really need this. You don't need the nodes module directory once again. You don't need any of this stuff besides the index.html, a couple folders. And the thing about the naming conventions is to try to keep the files that you name consistent. So if you name a file like this, that's okay. You can also name files like this, and that's also okay. But you want to keep it consistent because these are kind of the same thing. You either pick the extension HTML or HTML. I think most modern projects have the extension .html. And when you're naming your files as well, if you had a long format name for your file that required more than one word, that works as well. But you could also do something like this. That also works as well. The thing I'm trying to get at here is just to be consistent. So when you're working with yourself, maybe not a big deal, but when you're working with others and you have a group of people working on the same project, you're going to have some standards that you're going to have to adhere to and some consistencies. Most gotchas are usually around spelling or case sensitivity. And that's it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like the video if you found this useful. Leave your comments and thoughts below. Take care, and I will see you next time.